Well, as I promised last week, we're going to be taking a look at the Hammond Collection baby Triceratops this time. Unsurprisingly, the baby Triceratops comes in a little black box, like all of the other Hammond Collection figures. But since I don't really care about the box, let's just go ahead and get it out of there. Ta-da! The Hammond Collection baby Triceratops features an uninspired gray color palette. It's applied well enough, sure. It's just not that interesting. It also has a tail, which we should probably put on it. All better. This baby Triceratops pretty much has all of the same articulation that you would expect from any small Hammond Collection quadruped. All four legs are articulated at 3 points. The hip, the elbow, and the ankle, and the tail and neck both feature a ball joint. All in all, very similar to the Hammond Collection baby Stegosaurus. The baby Stegosaurus and the baby Triceratops both feature articulated jaws. Apparently, the ability to open and close their mouths is something that the Stegosaurus and Triceratops both lose as they achieve adulthood, which is such a shame because look how happy that Stegosaurus is to open up his jaws. And the Triceratops is also missing the stupid mid-tail joint. I don't know why they put that on the Stegosaurus. Oh well, I guess the Stegosaurus is happy with it. Now, this isn't Mattel's first baby Triceratops. Got one earlier in the Reimagined line, albeit a much smaller, and therefore I assume a much younger Triceratops, which was a boring green, but mine got the Crash McCreer concept art treatment, because that's what I do. I think it's safe to say that the Reimagined baby Triceratops is a Jurassic Park Triceratops, as it features the large osteoderms on the back that the Jurassic Park Triceratopses do. The Hammond Collection Triceratops, on the other hand, does not feature those large osteoderms on the back. So it'd be safe to say that it's a Jurassic World Triceratops. The Jurassic World baby Triceratops is a boring-ass gray. The Jurassic Park baby Triceratops is a less boring gray. But the Crash McCreer baby Triceratops concept art, it's got a bit more going on with it. So that's what we're gonna do today. First things first, we're gonna base coat this little guy in warm buff. Fortunately, he's pretty small, so this shouldn't take nearly as much time as something like a Tyrannosaurus. Gotta make sure I cover up those stupid glass eyes. And we are done with the base coating part. There's still a long way to go. Now, first things first, we're gonna sling some orange on this guy, which will go in the areas where the baby Triceratops on Crash McCreer's concept art has orange, which is generally the armpits, leg pits, the frill, and the tail. For this first round of orange, I'm using Orange Sorbet, which is just slightly lighter than the flamingo coral we used on the marine iguana-styled Pachycephalosaurus a few weeks ago. We can always go darker, but going lighter is a little bit trickier. Still doable, but trickier. Once that orange is applied, we're going to add some elephant gray with the airbrush. Fortunately, this step is pretty simple, nothing terribly complicated about it. Just have to make sure I don't forget to do the tail too. We're also going to make sure that we hit the eye socket, which is a light gray on the Crash McCreer concept art. And in addition, another layer of paint is going to help me forget that this thing had glass eyes to begin with. Dark days. While we're at it, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit more gray airbrushing on and around the face. Not too much. The face should be mostly orange. That tail almost escaped getting painted orange. Hang on one moment while I remedy that. Similarly to the adult Hammond Collection Triceratops I did last week, the baby Triceratops also features a few areas with some warmer tones. Not quite pink, but a warm flesh. These tones are almost indistinguishable from the warm buff that it's base coated in, and to achieve them, I mixed warm beige with warm buff. You know, warm colors. The colors are faint, but trust me, they're there. This is mostly along the edges of the frill, along the bottom jaw, and on the legs and feet. To apply these warm tones, I'll be dry brushing, because I'm not taking my chances with Shrek. Speaking of which, I will be applying that replacement head to a Hammond Collection Allosaurus and repainting it on this channel. so stay tuned. It won't be the next video though. The next video is going to wrap up our Triceratops Trilogy with the mother of all 1/18th scale Triceratops figures. While the beast of the Mesozoic Triceratops was sliding across the screen, I switched paintbrushes. Now I'm dry brushing some light gray on this Triceratops' face, and that's just to blend those gray parts into the orange parts. Once that's done, we're going to start in with some toothpick speckling. And this baby Triceratops requires an awful lot of toothpick speckling. I'm using dark granite, and I'm basically going on and around the gray areas. We're using the normal speckling rule. Larger, more dense speckles closer to the patterns, and smaller, sparser ones the further away, and we're treating the gray areas like the patterns in this case. I forgot to push record, but I did some pavement speckling on the tail of this baby Triceratops. Whoops. Using some dark granite, I'm going to go in and mark out some stripes on the baby Triceratops. I'm doing these stripes in basically the same pattern as on the adult Triceratops. With this Triceratops being a little bit older than the reimagined Triceratops, the idea is that as the orange patterns it has as a baby start to fade, striped patterns that it will have as an adult will begin to emerge. Similar to a leopard gecko losing its bands as a juvenile and gaining its spots as an adult. Just a more Triceratopsy version of that. And as with most dinosaur markings, we're going to speckle the ever-loving crap out of these. But I'm doing it slightly different and speckling over them with elephant gray to make them seem more faint, as if its stripes haven't completely come in yet. And since we don't want a lopsided baby dinosaur, we're going to speckle the crap out of the other side too. I've switched over to a finer paintbrush with a really watered down pavement on it, and I'm going to use that pavement color to kind of reinforce some of the markings on the face, before I eventually airbrush over them. I think I'll reinforce that tail stripe too. It's pretty distinct on the Crash McCreer concept art. In fact, you know what? Since I'm going to go over this whole thing with the airbrush again anyways, rather than making those stripes more faint, I should have made them stick out a little bit more. They'll be faint anyways after they're airbrushed over. So we're going to reinforce those too. Captain Hindsight strikes again. Both sides, lest we get a lopsided dinosaur. With the stripe reinforcement complete, I'm going to grab a wide flat paintbrush, and I'm going to do some pavement splotching on the tail, because aside from that lateral stripe, the tail's looking kind of plain, and I'd like it to blend in with the rest of the animal as much as possible. And while we're splotching, we're going to splotch around those stripes too, because splotching is a little faster than speckling, and I already spend a lot of time doing some speckling that I really shouldn't have. I mentioned earlier that the orange I used was less vibrant than the flamingo coral. Well, now we're going to take a paintbrush with some watered down flamingo coral, and we're going to add some brighter highlights to those orange spots. After applying the flamingo coral, I'm going to go in with a paintbrush that just has water on it, and blend that in with the other orange, whose name I shan't attempt to pronounce again. Just to be thorough, I'm going to do the same thing to that tail orange as well. At the risk of completely screwing up my baby Triceratops, I'm going to go in with a light pavement wash now, and attempt to blend in some of the darker areas on this dinosaur's face. I'm going to make sure to hit the eye socket too, because I want to highlight all of the wrinkles in the eyelid, on both sides. Because this wash actually seems to be working out pretty well, I'm going to take the risk and apply it to some more spots on this baby Triceratops. Hopefully I won't regret this. After taking the risk with a wash, it's time to use some airbrushing. This guy's face is a little bit too vibrant, so I'm going to darken it around the edges with some chestnut. And after we're done with the face, we're going to give that same treatment to the orange on the tail as well. It's not quite done, but I think it's starting to come together. Now we'll put some dark gray in the airbrush, which is more of a medium gray, and give this whole thing an overspray, which is going to subdue all of those patterns quite a bit, and help to blend everything together. And if we're lucky, make it resemble that original concept art just a little bit more. Now, in order to make sure that we throw Shrek off of our trail, I'm going to give this whole thing a dry brush with elephant gray, which will highlight all of the raised details, as well as fading in those patterns just a bit more, which we do on both sides. With the dry brushing done, it's time to paint the beak, horns, and epicoccipitals. And normally I would do this with warm buff, but since I base coated this whole trike in warm buff, I'm going to use Beachcomber Beige instead, just to make it a little different. Before I forget, this guy's toenails should be the same color, so I should probably get those too. Now that the epicoccipitals, beak and horns and toenails have been painted, we're going to hit them with a burnt umber wash. Since this wash is just going on the beak, horns, toenails, and epicoccipitals, it shouldn't be too messy. At least that's the hope. Yay, it worked out. Well, the wash made the horns look dirty, which was kind of the point, but it made them look too dirty. So we're just going to dry brush some antique parchment over those and restore a little bit of their original color. Now that this little guy's horns are done, we can paint in the eyeballs. For the eyes, we're going to use melted chocolate, which is a nice, very dark brown color, but distinct from burnt umber. One of the things that makes the original glass eyes suck is how recessed they are. It makes it difficult for them to actually catch light and look lively, so they have a tendency to just look dead, like Village of the Damned. But being as recessed as they are does help with painting them, as the eye itself is very distinct and separate from the eyelids. Unsurprisingly, we're going to use gloss black for the pupil, which is round on both the Jurassic World and Jurassic Park Triceratops, not a vertical slit. Because this baby Triceratops is a cutesy little bastard, we're going to use some white paint and add a light catch in the corner of his eye, which will hopefully make him look just a little bit more lifelike. And since the eye is as recessed as it is, I'm not confident in its ability to catch light on its own. And I think that little detail just about wraps this repaint up.
It's so squishy.
Next week, in the final episode of the Triceratops Trilogy, the beasts of the Mesozoic return, with the mother of all Triceratops figures, the 1/18th Triceratops Horridus from Creative Beast Studios. Tune in for the thrilling conclusion. Okay, maybe I oversold it a little bit, but next week I'm gonna paint the beasts of the Mesozoic Triceratops. So tune in if you're into that kind of stuff.